So the Centauri Carbon 2 came out a couple of months ago, and Elegoo forgot to put this with the machine. And there's one thing on the CC2 that nobody else has really mentioned, and it's kind of hidden, and I'm going to tell you about it in this video. So in this video, we're going to talk about what this is, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the machine after using it for a couple of months. So with that said, let's get into it. For the rest of the video, I'll refer to the Centauri Carbon 2 as the CC2. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Whenever this machine came out, it came out as one of the cheapest multicolor 3D printers on the market, aside the FlashForge 85X, being the cheapest multicolor printer on the market. It's got a build plate of 256 by 256 by 256 with a max speed of 500 MMS and 20,000 acceleration. And it's even got a die-cast aluminum frame with metal side panel. So it's not a cheap plastic build by any means. And it's got triple Z-axis screws at that $400-something price range. It came with semi-automatic belt tensioners, a 121-point auto bed leveling system, tangle detection with auto pause, and it has a 350C hot end. So it can definitely print the PLAs, the PETGs, and it can even get on up into the ASAs, the ABS, and the carbon fiber, and some engineering filament. But one of the first things that I wanted to know was, can it print TPU? And well, yes and no, and we'll get into that here shortly. And that has something to do with the purple part that I showed you earlier. But one of the things that I really like is the dual-sided plate that it comes with, and it's integrated into the UI. So you pick A or B depending on what filament that you're going to choose. So it kind of gives you that Bambu Lab proprietary plate feel, but at the same time, I like the fact that you can just pull the plate out, flop it over, and just slide it back in. You don't actually need two plates. And as any printer should in 2026, it comes with a camera, built-in AI detection for spaghetti and object detection on the bed. It's got a 5-inch touchscreen, and it can push prints over Wi-Fi or USB, and it does not have a Ethernet port. Now, another thing that it doesn't have, and you have to keep this in mind if you plan on printing any type of engineering filaments, it doesn't have a chamber heater, but it does regulate the chamber temperature, if that makes sense. So one of the things that not a lot of people talked about was the automatic vent flappers on the back of the CC2. So the vent will open and close as needed to try to maintain a temperature. Now, it can't heat up the chamber per se, other than the heat that comes off of the bed and the nozzle, but for PLA and filaments that don't require a bunch of heat, it can actually open those vents up and let some of that heat out, which means you can print with the door closed and you really don't have to worry about anything. Now, when it comes to PLA and stuff, I've been leaving the top off of this thing and it prints just fine. So honestly, the rear exhaust wouldn't even matter because you got the whole top off. But if you're ever in a scenario where you want the top on, you want the door closed, you want it as quiet as possible, and let me tell you, this thing is quiet. That was one of their key selling points, was how quiet the machine was. I think it's how quiet is the machine. So on silent mode, it's supposed to be no louder than about 45 dB, but it's worth noting that that test was conducted without the auxiliary fans on, which you'll probably never print with all the fans off. So yeah.
So back in December, whenever our channel got hacked, we took a real deep look at how that happened and why. And a lot of it happened because our information was out there on the internet for all these scammers. So we partnered up with Incogni, and they battle these scammers on your behalf, basically. They go out there and find your data wherever it's at, and they take it back. They protect you against financial reputation loss, identity theft, and privacy violations. And they actually use the law in your favor to help protect you. Because losing a social media handle is the least of your worries when your information is out there. They can take out loans in your name, rack up debt, they can steal your whole identity, and basically do whatever they want. So honestly, not protecting your identity is crazy, and I cannot believe we just didn't have any safety measures in place. And I feel a lot better with Incogni in place, and however you choose to protect your data, I would start looking into it now.
Now, if you are concerned about regulating the temperature inside the CC2, there are some chamber heater options. Like for me, I have the iHeater installed in mine, and you can run it as a standalone unit where you just turn it on a set temperature. And I've seen several mods out there in the community where people are adding chamber heaters to these things. So just go take a look either at iHeater, or you can go online and find a chamber heater that'll work for your situation. Now let's talk about the multicolor system on the CC2. It's equipped with the canvas system from Elegoo, which is their multicolor switcher that's built onto the side of the machine. It's not your typical AMS. And honestly, this is my second machine that I review with this type of filament switching system, the other one being the Flashforge 85X. Honestly, I gotta say, I actually prefer these over the AMS or CFS any day. I haven't had a single problem out of these type of filament switchers since I've been testing this machine or the 85X. They're really simple, they don't take up a lot of space, and they just work. Now, the downside to having this style of filament switcher is you're only doing 4 colors automatically without manually switching some filaments. Now, the good news is it has automatic filament switching, so if you run out of one filament, you have another one already lined up, it'll automatically jump to that one just like the AMS does. And it's got RFID detection just like the AMS. You simply hold the spool up before you load it, hold it up to the RFID, it's gonna beep, it's gonna pop up on the screen, and then you just load it, and on the touchscreen, you just let it know where you put the filament. So the filament holders on the side of the machine, they are spring loaded. They don't have motors in them like you would think to retract the filament. Basically, the canvas feeds back the filament, and the spring in the spool holders allows the filament to rewind back up. It's actually a really simple system, and honestly, I think that's why it works so well. And you don't have a ton of feed or retract issues like you do on the CFS and the AMS style filament switchers. And another reason why I think there's not a lot of issues with feed on these machines is because there's not a ton of PTFE tubing running everywhere. It's literally going straight from the canvas, straight to the head, and it's probably about 2.5 feet of PTFE tubing that you're dealing with. So speaking of spool holders, that's where this guy comes into play. I was trying to figure out how I was gonna run TPU on this machine, and I tried it using the canvas, and yeah, that didn't work out too great. I prefer reliable TPU prints where I can walk away and I feel comfortable, and I didn't get that from the canvas. And honestly, I didn't expect that because the canvas isn't designed to run TPU through it. Now, I'm sure there's some mods and little modifications that we could do to make that work, just like I do on pretty much every other machine, but straight out the box, it wasn't super reliable for me. So I did some digging, and on Elegoo's website, they had this, and it's a TPU adapter that you're supposed to print and use on the machine that basically bypasses the canvas system and gives you a clear direct lane with no canvas directly to the tool head. So I downloaded this, I was like, great, cool, I got it. And then I realized quickly that you need little black collets that go in here that basically they're the push collets that allow the PTFE tube to lock in. Well, the machine doesn't come with those. So what I did is I used these metal connectors that I've had in a drawer just sitting there forever. And they actually work perfectly with a little help from a torch lighter. Now, to get this thing to print TPU, it's not super straightforward, but after you realize what you need to do, honestly, it's like almost common sense. So you'll have to unplug the canvas system. That way it's not seeing the rolls. And once you do that, it's gonna give you basically a side spool option on the user interface. And then you just hand feed the filament like you would any other 3D printer, and once it purges, you're ready to go. Now, let's get into the quality that the CC2 printed TPU. Now, keep in mind, both of these filaments are optimized to print perfectly on almost any machine. So I would be super surprised if this machine couldn't do it. And yes, there's a little stringing on the benchy, but that can be fixed with just a little extra tuning. So overall, I have to say, of all the things that I printed in TPU on the CC2, it did phenomenally well. It actually surprised the heck out of me. Now, another thing on the CC2 that I like that you really just never see because it's underneath the printer, and that's the rubber feet. I like the way that they're super squishy, and it really gives the machine a lot of room for absorption with as squishy as they are, versus a lot of these other printers giving you hard rubber feet that really don't give you a lot of absorption whatsoever. And honestly, for the price point, this thing has a lot of fail safes. Let me run down some for you, and I don't have them memorized. I'm not going to pretend I do, but it's got 31 sensors in total at that price point, which is kind of crazy. It's got filament runout, clog detection, tangle detection, drop detection. I guess if you drop it, I don't know, that's a weird one, but fan self check, cutter status check, power loss recovery, and a bunch more. And the power loss recovery is actually a lifesaver, because if you ever run out of power and you're in the middle of a print, nobody wants to deal with losing a print 75% done just because your power flickered on and off. Now, that's a pretty standard feature nowadays across all printers, really, but it's really reassuring to know that you have it, so you don't have to worry about anything when the power clicks off. You could just turn on the printer when you get power again, and it should pick up right where I left off. Now, I tested that feature. I clicked off the printer, turned it back on, and it worked just fine. Now, as far as quality with the CC2, that is probably the most thing that surprised me with this machine. I haven't had a lot of Elegoo machines come through here. I've owned some of their resin printers, but as far as their FDM printers, I've never really gotten into them. And I gotta say, the quality on the CC2 for the price point, honestly, it is right up there with the H2C that I have. It's up there with the Prusa machine that I have. The quality on this thing, as you can see, is pretty much flawless, and that's printing at a 0.4 millimeter nozzle and a 0.2 layer height. I typically print with the 0.6. I didn't have a 0.6 for this machine, so all of these prints are on 0.4. So yeah, honestly, my take on this machine is you can't really beat it for the price point. I think the only machine out there that's actually beating it on the price point is the FlashForge 85X. Now, it's a little bit cheaper, pretty much the same machine. It doesn't have a chamber heater. All the features this one has, that one has. So at that point, it's pretty much a brand decision. Now, me personally, I think Elegoo, when it comes to user interface and ecosystem and stuff, I think they have a little bit nicer of a user interface and ecosystem, honestly. Now, that's just my preference. So what I suggest you do, if you're looking at one of these type machines, I would take a look at this machine, and then I would go look at a review for the FlashForge 85X and see which one that you like better. The thing about the CC2 is it comes with a fully enclosed chamber, and the 85X, you got to purchase that separately. Then you got to build it, you got to put it together, and it's all plexiglass. And this one has a solid glass front door with a shatterproof film on the back, and the whole frame is pretty much die-cast aluminum with metal side panels. You're not going to get that on the 85X. So for a little bit more, you get a little bit more higher quality. So you remember when I said there was something on this machine, but it was kind of hidden? If you take off the fan shroud and then you take out a few screws and take off the tool head cover, there's actually an extruder adjustment screw. And what that allows you to do is huge, especially if you plan on printing TPU. Now, I'm big on printing TPU and getting machines to print TPU when everyone says that it can't. And I know that there is two things that absolutely kills TPU, and that is resistance and tension. And a lot of times you get resistance from your PTFE tubes, and other times you get it from the actual extruder itself. That's why it's so important that you're able to adjust the tension on the extruder on any 3D printer if you plan on printing anything other than hard material, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, the tension required to print hard filaments is never going to be the same tension required to print flexible filaments. And the sooner 3D printing companies figure that out, what it looks like Elegoo has, the better off we're all going to be. I've sold thousands of TPU kits for the K-series machines, and there's a reason why I've sold thousands of them, because it enables people to print TPU. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, oh, I can print TPU on the machine. Yeah, you probably can, but can you do it reliably with no fails like you can PLA? Now, when you get your tension and resistance under control, you'll be able to do that on pretty much any machine. That's my rant back to the review, and my take on the CC2 when it comes to TPU is it can do it. So who is this machine actually for? Honestly, if you're just trying to do some multicolor and you're not trying to do a lot of high-end engineering filaments, then this machine's perfect. So on a scale of 1 to 10 for the Elegoo CC2, I'm gonna give it like a 7. I dock it a few points just because it didn't print TPU as well as I would have expected it to out of the box. And then another thing, I really don't like the top cover, but with this machine, you really don't have a lot of options. It just takes up a lot of room vertically, so you need to keep that in mind. And it also, again, it doesn't come with a chamber heater. But again, for the price point, I mean, you really can't expect everything at that price point. So yeah, 7 out of 10. That's my thoughts on the Elegoo CC2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Coming up in my next video, I'll be reviewing the Kitty Max 4, and then we're going to Rapid TCT next month on the 13th, where I'll be launching Slicer Ninja on Kickstarter. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.